G'day and God bless. Somebody on my Facebook shared this anti-white meme, and so I thought, why not make a video and we'll break it down and have a look at it. It starts off, open quote, "I could see that the white man did not care for each other in the way our people did. They would take everything from each other if they could. Some had more of everything than they could use, while crowds of people had nothing at all. This could not be better than the old ways of my people," close quote. Now, every time there's the ... that's where parts have been taken out of the quote. So it has no context. He could be saying something completely different to what people are trying to make out that he's saying. But let's take a look at what people are trying to make out that he's saying, okay? So, a classic anti-white meme pathogen, alright? This noble savage. That's what this meme pathogen essentially is called, the noble savage. Now, because we're brainwashed with this meme pathogen called the noble savage, and we all grew up, like especially my generation, we grew up watching like Pocahontas and Tarzan and all types of things like this, alright, and Jungle Book, etc., where essentially wild native people are romanticized, and they're given this archetype of the noble savage. They're like righteous, king-like beings, like Tarzan, right? He's like the king of the jungle. He's righteous, he's pure of heart, all of this. When in reality there's cannibal tribes, there's tribes that do child sacrifice, things like that in the real world. That's the real world, scalping your enemies, genociding a foreign, like the neighboring tribe for their land and their supply of buffalo, etc. Having chiefs in charge of a tribe. I'm sure we've all heard of it. A chief, an Indian chief of a tribe. They're the big dons, essentially, the mafia bosses that run the show, and they're above the rest of the tribe in the hierarchy. and so another point here it goes into is they had more of everything than they could use, while crowds of people had nothing at all. Alright? Now, when you're reading this or you're interpreting this from the anti-white narrative with meme pathogens like the noble savage, alright? So, again, that's like imagining as though, and you've been brainwashed to subconsciously think in this way as well, alright? Because it makes the scenario, the situation appear to be much more anti-white than it actually is, alright? Or it makes the white man look a lot worse and a lot more bad and evil, alright? But fundamentally, when you read this, because of that meme pathogen, in your subconscious, you imagine this whole Indian tribe living like the cartoon characters in Pocahontas, or they're all like Tarzan, like a whole tribe of Tarzans, of male and female Tarzans living in the wilds of the American wilderness in perfect harmony. They're like avatars, another perfect one. Alright, we've been brainwashed with these meme pathogens. That's probably a more common one that most people alive today, especially my generation, have probably seen that franchise. They know of that thing, the big blue cat-looking things, Avatar, right? Not the Airbender, but Avatar, the big blue alien things. They live in harmony. They connect to the nature and the animals and all of this, right? That's the noble savage. So we've been brainwashed our entire lives to have that image in the back of our heads, and not the reality of cannibals, child sacrifice, scalping your enemies while they're alive and genociding their village and setting their women and children on fire, and listening to them scream while you have them tied up and you burn down their entire village. We don't imagine that in our subconscious when we think of the natives and the tribals, indigenous people, when that was the more common theme. We've been brainwashed to think, like Avatar, they're noble, they're all good people, like the Tarzan, they're all nice, they all get along and share and all of this. It's just a delusion, it's nonsense. But remember that that's the brainwashing that people have and why they make these types of interpretations. Alright, again, let's read through, open quote. I could see that the white man did not care for each other the way our people did. See? That's the Avatar. The white man is like the humans in Avatar. They've come in and they've got the machines and technology and they're going to destroy everything. But and they're just using each other and they don't care and But our people are noble like the Avatar people, and we're all together in harmony with nature and the Great Spirit. Right. They would take everything from each other if they could. They would plunder and take everything, but we only take what we need. Because we're in harmony with nature. When the reality is, and this is something I go into down here, one of the greatest destructions to the American environment and wildlife wasn't from the colonization or afterwards. It happened prior to colonization. It was caused by Indian tribes, because they would do mass killings of buffalo and things like this, to the point where they would kill hundreds and hundreds more buffalo than they could possibly ever use or eat. So there's just carcasses sitting there rotting and almost entire species going extinct because, it was just easier to hunt that way. It's easier just to scare a whole herd off of a cliff than it is to actually try to individually hunt them down and throw a spear and all that nonsense. So who cares? It's mass extinction. The Native Americans didn't give a shit. They were wiping out species like there was no tomorrow. They weren't in harmony with nature. They did the most damage to nature. But that's the reality. We don't look at it through that lens of reality because, again, we've been brainwashed since birth to have this noble, savage delusion. And we imagine and we pretend as though they all lived like the Avatar, fucking blue, cat-looking alien dudes in harmony with nature. When that's not reality. Alright? And the same thing if you look at this, like for Australians, for example. The natives in Australia did the most damage to the environment because one of them, and they don't hide it, they're not ashamed of it. It's a part of their culture. They're proud of it. Alright? So, even though they're proud of it being a part of their culture, of how they destroy the environment as a hunting technique with mass fires, they set huge fires. And now in Australia, there's actually certain species in the wild and whatnot that rely on bushfires. Like if there isn't a bushfire, they won't let off their seeds, and these certain plants and native shrubs and things, they can't reproduce unless there's a fire. But that took thousands of years of terraforming the environment and essentially dominating the native environment, wiping out the vast majority of the original native species, and then creating an environment in which the Aboriginals were comfortable and essentially their own home. So they fully terraformed, they destroyed the old rainforests and everything that used to cover Australia. They burnt it all down so it was easier to hunt. And they did the most damage to the environment over the span of tens of thousands of years. If you're looking at the big picture, they've actually done the most damage and actually wiped out the most amount of species, etc. They were never in harmony with nature. Alright? That's nonsense. Again, it's a meme pathogen, an anti-white mean pathogen that we've been brainwashed with our entire lives. But the facts of the matter are, if you just look at like any environmentalist group, alright? Google environmentalist protest and look at the hue of the participants. Alright, that's all I have to say on that matter. If you want to know the actual reality of which people are more in harmony with nature, which people actually have a balance with nature and live in harmony with nature, look at any group of environmentalists, etc. You can just Google it, look at YouTube, just look at any protest of any environmentalists gathering anywhere on the planet, anywhere in history, and look at the hue, look at the colour of their skin, and you can see for yourself what people actually live in harmony with nature. But the anti-white lie is to spin the complete opposite of reality and say that the natives and the indigenous folk who actually do the most damage, which again, I'm not blaming them, I don't care. That's their culture, they're proud of it. The Aboriginals are proud people. They're proud of their hunting ways and how they terraformed and destroyed the old Australian rainforests and created their hunting grounds. And that is a part of their culture. That's what they've done for thousands and thousands of years. That's who they are as a people. They dominated and controlled the environment and took over the land. Alright? By force. Explosive force. Fire is very powerful force. The only thing that comes second or comes after that or better than that is literally explosives. Like literally just going and blowing up the whole fucking landscape. And the next thing that comes close to literally dropping bombs all over the whole environment and just killing everything is set it all on fire. That's the second best to destroying everything. And the Aboriginals are very proud that that's a part of their culture, fundamental to who they are. Utter destruction of the environment, setting it on a flame, literally burning it to the ground. Alright? So all the animals scatter out and they're easy to catch. That's a big part of their culture. They're proud of that, of not being in harmony, of the fact that they destroy the environment and have dominated it. Alright? At the same time, because of the anti-white mean pathogens, all people of all backgrounds have been brainwashed. They'll have cognitive dissonance. Right? And you'll notice it more, especially the closer they are to cities and universities. If you actually go out to actual missions or actual Aboriginal communities, then they're more likely to, not harp on about harmony with nature and all of this. They're more so like, no, I'm the boss. I want a kangaroo, I kill it and take it. I go hunt, I take it. I burn the land and take what I want. And take what I can. It's just the hippies who have been brainwashed, the anti-white mean pathogens, who are pushing the whole in harmony, like the Avatar aliens. On that movie? Yeah, we like those aliens on that movie, brah. Yeah, that's what the real world's like. Trust me, brah. The real world is like blue aliens on a fucking movie from Hollywood. Obviously, it's not. That's Hollywood. But that's literally how everyone's looking at this situation because of anti-white mean pathogens. They're not seeing the reality, they're seeing their Hollywood fantasy. So, old mate's reply is pretty interesting as well. He tries to say, I don't blame any race for anything, although he goes into, it was the Europeans who ran the slave trade in America. Another anti-white mean pathogen. This one's so common, no one actually just does 10 minutes of research and you'd realise, damn. It actually wasn't the whites who ran the slave trade in America. Shit. It was another group of people, of non-whites. It wasn't whites who ran the slave trade. Alright. But instead of doing 10 minutes of research, literally just Googling for 10 freaking minutes and finding out, oh, actually it wasn't white people who ran the slave trade. My bad. People just harp on and just repeat this freaking lie like it's real. It's like a wives' tale, gets repeated, then folk just act like it's real and true. But no, in reality, the Europeans who settled America did not run the slave trade in America. Alright? That's not the people who ran it. It was non-whites. It was a group of non-whites from the Middle East who ran the slave trade in America. And it's all recorded. You can look at all the data and the receipts from the sales of trades at the auctions and everything. And it wasn't white people who ran it. So just do 10 minutes of research, folk. And open your eyes and just be like, holy damn, my whole life everyone's been telling me it was white Americans who ran the slave trade in America. But it's not even true. All the evidence is clear that it was this other non-white group. So I've been lied to my whole life. What else are they lying about? What else are they saying the white folk have done that we didn't really do? That's how you should, if you have a sensible way of thinking, that's how you should be looking at it. Once you do the research yourself. Like I said, it just takes you 10 minutes, Google it for 10 minutes, and look who actually ran the slave trade in America. It wasn't even white people. And then, as well, there's always the talk of, war against the natives and the wiping out of the natives, Indigenous Holocaust, etc., etc. Fair enough. Violence is never the right solution. It's not a good thing. But it's always stretched in this sense to be very anti-white. Again, when you're coming at it from the lens, in the anti-white narrative, when you've been brainwashed in your subconscious with the anti-white meme pathogen of the noble savage, right? So imagine all the Native Americans, they're all like peaceful, humble, enlightened beings. They're basically all Jesus. And they're big blue cat-looking alien dudes, and they hook up to the trees, and they're in harmony with nature, and it's all nice hippy-dippy. Okay, it's all rainbows and ice cream and fucking unicorns. It's all sick, bro. But from that perspective, if you then think about the big bad evil white man coming in and invading and stealing the land of these peaceful, enlightened, blue alien hippies that just want to love everybody, man, and just be in peace and just share and yeah. Well then, obviously, you take the side of the hippie blue aliens, and they're the good guys, they're the innocent ones because they're just in harmony with nature, man, minding their own business, man. And then the other guys invading are the bad guys. And that's the anti-white narrative. But in reality, when you realise in reality, the blue alien dudes, they're actually killing each other and, killing their own babies and raping each other and literally just genociding at each other because of their spirit freaking animal told them to go genocide that tribe while they were tripping on hallucinogenics, like smoking the peace pipe around in the teepee and freaking seeing spirits and go murder this whole freaking tribe of people for no reason, slaughter their children. Okay, spirits, tripping on drugs, going slashing people's throats. That's the reality of tribal life, of the real world. Not fucking hippies chilling out, loving fucking nature in harmony. Are you kidding me? They wore freaking bears on their head and shit. They skinned animals alive, drained their brains out of their skulls and put their freaking skulls on their head and danced around like freaking beasts. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's freaking sick. That's props as. That's freaking hardcore. That's hardcore barbarian style. like fucking wearing the skulls of your slain enemies, right? But that's not hippy dippy, freaking peaceful, loving dovey in nature, in harmony, like a freaking noble savage. Like, oh, I'm all peaceful, we share with our fucking tribe and we're all nice. And no, if old mate gets lippy, I'll fucking crack his neck and fucking spear him and take his wife, cunt, and rape her. Hypothetically, in that scenario, right? That's the reality, okay? It's not hippy dippy love, harmony, everyone getting on all the time. We're human beings. No humans have ever been in, like, lived in fucking that much peace and just got on magically like that, no matter what race they are or what economic system they have. It's ridiculous. But yeah, if you're looking at it through reality, sense of like just normal reality, you realise it's like, oh, well, you know, they settle here. Maybe they attack first, and that's wrong. Half of the time, most likely, it's 50-50, obviously. The chances are 50-50 in reality. So, just being generous, okay, half of the time, it was the natives who attacked the settlers and raped innocent women and killed children of just like some farmer or, your uncle on his property or something. And the natives ran in and slaughtered him and killed him. And so then there was retaliation, and then, we'll go kill some of these natives here and got to subjugate these ones under our rule because they keep raping our women. Blah, blah. Half it would have been. And then you would have had times when there was like this rich greedy bastard, and he would have pretended like his wife or his somebody was attacked, his daughter was almost raped or something by this tribe, when the tribal was actually just being nice. And he tricks the army to go raid and genocide this innocent tribe of people who actually did nothing wrong. Yeah, of course, there would have been times when there was lies like that, and actual just individual men, just one dude, not a race of people. Just one dude that was a fuckwit. Right? And fucked around whole tribes of people. There would have been time when it was groups of people who were fuckwits. But never a whole race. There was never a time when the whole white race just went against non-white people. Or just went and genocided the natives. Never happened. Yes, conflict, back and forth. Again, if you're being generous, at least 50-50. Half the time the natives started it, half the time the settlers started it. When in reality, the data shows that it was majority of the time the natives started it, and majority of the time it was the settlers defending themselves. But just benefit of the doubt, let's just be generous, okay? Because it's a 50-50 thing, percentage. So let's just be mathematical about it. Instead of looking at the history and whose opinion is correct and whatnot, just looking at it as a mathematical equation. It's like flip of a coin, 50-50. Half of the time the natives attacked, half of the time the settlers attacked the natives. Fine. That means it's fair, no one's invading the other. Oh. And at the same time, those same tribes of natives, they were never a united nation. They were also at war with each other. So there was the tribe, each tribe had its own conflict with white settlers, and then as well, equally, they had conflicts with other tribes of natives who they were at war with before the settlers even rocked up. And those wars continued on long after colonisation. Okay? And again, the vast majority of the time, the consequences of losing or being at the losing end of a war or battle against another tribe was a lot more brutal and something to be fearful of than losing to the colonisers. Alright? Even if you were put to death either way, one's a lot more peaceful and less painful. The natives have always had creative ways of putting across a certain message to people they don't agree with. Which, again, more props to somebody who's tough. I don't have a problem with that. You want to send a message, send a message. Just make sure you got the teeth to back up your bark, essentially. So, yeah, there's this whole idea. Generally, the meme pathogen is the noble savage, okay? That's that one you need to understand. And the correct idea for that is that no, just normal people. Or normal savage. Not noble, not enlightened like an Avatar alien blue cat character connecting their tail to freaking trees and shit. That's nonsense. People aren't like that in reality. Find me anyone that isn't tripping. And it's always juxtaposed and put up against the anti-white meme pathogen of the evil colonizer, the invader who's taking resources and slaughtering natives. And then that creates the anti-white narrative and pretext, that part of the anti-white narrative of the history, the bad white man in the past and what he's done to the non-whites, and therefore that justifies, in the anti-white narrative, it justifies things like reparations and harming innocent white people to get revenge, etc., etc. So all of this, at the end of the day, fundamentally, all of the meme pathogens about the noble savage and how the natives lived in peace and harmony with nature and all that, and then all of the lies about how the white man was bad and they were even bad to each other and they just always wanted to steal resources and make themselves rich and, exploiters, natural exploiters and oppressors. All of this builds up the anti-white narrative, which ultimately is just to justify harm and erasure of Western kind, and the theft of our goods, potential, land, wealth, women, children, etc. So again, all of the ideas like the noble savage and the natives and the indigenous folk living in harmony with nature, all of that is just lies to build up, to justify harming innocent white folk in the next generations and taking their wealth and their opportunities and their potential. And they've been building up these lies, building up this story to justify this harm and this theft of our future generations' potential and wealth for generations now. They've been doing it for decades. We've all grown up, we've all been brainwashed with these ideas. And that's why it's so important. We have to look at these ideas, pick them apart, take them apart, and then reconstruct the narrative with which we look at reality and we see the world around us. Because as long as we're continuing to use these brainwashed ideas, we're continuing to create that narrative, that world view that we use to look at the world around us with, which then makes us live in a way that is harmful towards ourselves and Western kind. So it's fundamental that we have to fix these ideas, cure these sick ideas, so that we can actually think in ways, look at the world in ways, act and speak in ways which actually promote the well-being of our people, the well-being of the future generations, and the recapturing of the destiny of our folk. So there you go, folks. Take it easy and enjoy.